All around the world, every single day, people are finding their element, the place where what they love to do and what they're good at come together. When we see these people, the majority of us have a twinge of envy and wonder why life couldn't be that easy for us. While we are busy wondering, the people who are in their element are busy doing the thing that they love and getting better and better in every waking moment. As Sir Ken Robinson would tell us, we can all find that magical place where time seems to fly by because we love what we do with every fiber of our being, if we only knew where to look. This is a book about where to look for your element and how to fight against the forces that don't want you to find it. Why finding the element is so hard. We are all blessed with talents and abilities that, if tapped, would allow us to do so much more than we ever thought possible. The first step to being in the element is to find our own distinctive talents. Although there are many factors conspiring against us from finding them, you only need to look into the mirror to find your biggest, yourself. The first limitation we place on ourselves is that we don't understand the full range of our capabilities. As Sir Ken Robinson says, we're all born with an extraordinary powers of imagination, intelligence, feeling, intuition, spirituality, and of physical and sensory awareness. Most of us haven't found our element because we don't understand our own powers. After all, it's hard to tap into powers that we don't even know are there. The second limitation is in understanding how these talents and capacities work together holistically. Our minds, bodies, and our relationships with others are not independent operating systems that we can treat separately, because one has an impact on the other, which has an impact on the other, and so on. Understanding our holistic nature brings us one step closer to the element. Lastly, we don't truly understand the human capacity for growth and change, no matter how many candles are on your birthday cake. Most people lament the fact that you can't teach an old dog new tricks and blame missed opportunities on things outside of their control. How many times have you heard somebody in your life mutter, oh, I'm too old for that? Well, there are some instances where this might be true. There are infinitely more where growth and opportunities still await. Now that we know what's standing in our way, let's focus on the things that are necessary for us to find our element. I get it. Aptitude. Unfortunately, our society is set up to look for and reward only one type of intelligence, as if the SATs or other standardized tests could be a good measure for our aptitudes in becoming successful in the world. But, as Robinson will tell you, the question we should be asking is not, how smart are you? But rather, how are you smart? Let me explain. The book starts off with a story of a young girl who can't seem to sit still in class and was a constant disruption. Even worse, she handed in her assignments late and had the worst handwriting on this side of the Atlantic Ocean. Her teachers and her parents were concerned. Enough so that they decided it'd be best if Jillian be put in a school with children of special needs. They took little Jillian off to the psychiatrist for an assessment to confirm their hunch. What happened there was remarkable. At some point during the visit, the doctor turned on some music and then took Jillian's mother out of the room. They watched from outside in amazement as Jillian got up and moved to the music gracefully, seemingly lost in the moment. The doctor turned to Jillian's mother and said, "You know, Mrs. Lynn, Jillian's not sick. She's a dancer. Take her to dance school." This story would be remarkable enough if it ended there. But as it turns out, Jillian Lynn went on to become one of the most celebrated dancers and choreographers of all time, helping create classics such as The Phantom of the Opera and Cats with Andrew Lloyd Webber. There are many types of intelligence beyond how well we can sit still in class and how well we do on math tests. In fact, Harvard psychologist Howard Gardner has identified many intelligences that we all possess: linguistic, musical, mathematical, spatial, kinesthetic, interpersonal, which is our relationship with others, and intrapersonal, understanding ourselves. These intelligences are pretty much independent of one another and none more important than the other. So take a look into your own life. What aptitudes do you seem to have a natural ability for? Perhaps you were the kid in class who never seemed to shut your mouth. Maybe that was less of a sign that you were a bad student and more of a sign that you had a natural interpersonal intelligence. Maybe you were the kid who wanted to do nothing else but lock yourself in the room and play the guitar. Maybe that was less of a sign that you were socially awkward and more of a sign that you had strong musical intelligence. The important thing here is to realize that no matter what constraints the school system or society seems to place on you, there's more than one way to be intelligent. And if you pay attention, you can find where your intelligence is strongest. That's where you'll most likely be in your element. I love it. Passion. That you should love what you do for a living isn't a new concept. But platitudes alone aren't very helpful, so let's explore how you can figure out what this means for you. Most people make the mistake of deciding what they think they will love and then chasing that, rather than understanding what they actually love. It's hard to understate the impact this has on your life. Human beings are notoriously bad at guessing what will make them happy, and deciding what you want to dedicate your life to is no exception. Perhaps you may have been influenced by what your peers and family have done for a living, and you see them living a lifestyle that you think you want, and finally you decide that you should be a lawyer too. What you don't take into account is that for most people, the day-to-day of being a lawyer will suck the life out of you. Instead of looking for what you think will make you happy, take a look at what you're doing in your spare time. When you were in class and you were daydreaming, what were you daydreaming about? When you should be doing your homework or completing those TPS reports, what are you doing instead? For Paul McCartney, that thing was studying and playing rock music when he should have been doing his algebra homework. Music consumed his every thought, and he let it extend into his actions. However, finding the thing that you love to do might not even be enough to find out what will put you in your element. The other thing you need to be on the lookout for is what Robinson and every single sportscaster on the planet would call the zone. As Robinson says, the zone is deep within the heart of the element. When we're in the zone, we get lost in the moment in whatever it is that we're doing. Time seems to stand still, although we can go on for hours and have it feel like minutes. Without this euphoria to keep us going through all the other stuff that comes along with doing what we love, like studying, preparing, etc., we will never last. Most importantly, when you're in the zone, you're doing whatever you're doing for its own sake. I want it. Attitude. So you found what you're good at, and now you know what you love to do and what puts you in the zone. However, we're only half the way there. It seems trite to say this, but you have to really want this to be a permanent part of your life in order to succeed. For certain, you shouldn't expect the entire world to line up to try to help you to get you where you want to go. In fact, you'll face 3 sources of resistance along the way: personal, social, and cultural. Robinson calls this the 3 circles of constraint. First, get ready to face all sorts of resistance from the last person you'd expect to receive it from, yourself. This shouldn't be news to you. In fact, as you're working your way through this summary, you've probably been listening to a voice in your head telling you that you shouldn't be so foolish, or you're not good enough to do that, or some other put-down that would seem devastating to you if it were coming from the lips of somebody you love. It's incredible how hard we are on ourselves without even noticing. You'll have this battle on a daily basis, and each and every one of those days you're going to have to feel the fear and do it anyways. Second, you aren't the only one who doesn't want to see yourself succeed. Everyone around you is going to have an opinion on your crazy dreams. Many times these people can and will give you good advice. But on many occasions, and in this one in particular, you're best advised to ignore them. One of the most common phrases you're likely to hear is, "This is for your own good," or "I'm only saying this because I love you." Take the example of Paulo Coelho, whose parents had him committed to a mental institution on 3 separate occasions because he wanted to become a writer. You see, his parents believed that he had an excellent future ahead of him as a lawyer and couldn't have their beloved Paulo wasting his talents on something as trivial as the arts. Luckily for Paulo and the entire world, he persevered even through this. He went on to write The Alchemist, which sold over 40 million copies worldwide, and he became the best-selling Portuguese language writer of all time. Understanding these forces and be willing to break through them is critical if you want to find yourself in your element. Where is it? Opportunity. Where's the opportunity in this world? This is a question that all people in search of their element must ask, and there are 2 answers. The first answer is everywhere. People who find their element are much more likely to be the glass half full variety. In fact, Sir Ken Robinson himself had what many people would consider to be a crushing blow to their dreams when he was a child. Growing up in Liverpool, football wasn't a pastime, it was a family passion. His family had aspirations for him to play professionally one day, and his talent seemed to match the dream. One day, however, he came home and was in so much pain that he couldn't move. It turned out that he had polio, and he never regained the use of his right leg. Some people might have viewed this as the end of the dream, but Robinson viewed it as the beginning of another. He found his element in working in the creative and educational fields and through giving presentations around the world to groups of people who've been tasked with transforming these disciplines. People who find their element are not more or less likely to come up against trials and tribulations in their lives, but they are more likely to find the good in these events. The second answer is through finding your tribe. The culture and groups that we find ourselves in has a deep impact on what we perceive as acceptable behavior. The culture and groups you associate yourself with are, for the most part, things to be celebrated. However, they can also lead to groupthink, where the decision of the group is accepted at face value without any further exploration. For instance, pale and pasty old men in Europe find it perfectly acceptable to parade up and down the beach wearing nothing more than a thong, while in North America, he would be lucky if he weren't arrested for indecent exposure. In most high schools around the world, being a male dancer would cast a death sentence on your social life. But find yourself attending the Juilliard school, and that same male dancer might find their social life taking a turn for the better. Not to mention that it would be socially acceptable to work insanely hard at their craft. Finding a tribe is finding a group of people with a common commitment to the thing they feel born to do. Once you find the one thing you feel born to do, find the tribe where doing that thing on a daily basis is something that's not only encouraged, but demanded from you. Of course, the demanding will do no good because you'll already be doing that thing before they have a chance to demand it anyways. Conclusion. If you find yourself wondering what it would be like to absolutely love what you do for a living and find yourself lost in time on a daily basis, this book is for you. This might be the most important book you ever read.